Mahmud II was the 30th Sultan of the Ottoman Empire from 1808 until his death in 1839. He was born in the Topkapı Palace, Constantinople, the posthumous son of Sultan Abdul Hamid I. His reign is recognized for the extensive administrative, military, and fiscal reforms he instituted, which culminated into the Decree of Tanzimat that was carried out by his sons Abdülmecid and Abdülaziz I, often known as Peter the Great of Turkey. Mahmud's reforms included the 1826 abolishment of the conservative Janissary Corps, which removed a major obstacle to his and his successors' reforms in the empire. Accession. His mother was Valid Sultan Abdul. In 1808, Mahmud II's predecessor, and half-brother, Mustafa IV ordered his execution along with his cousin, the deposed Sultan Selim III, in order to defuse the rebellion. Selim III was killed, but Mahmud was safely kept hidden by his mother and was placed on the throne after the rebels deposed Mustafa IV. The leader of this rebellion, Alemdar Mustafa Pasha, later became Mahmud II's vizier. Western historians give Mahmud a bad reputation for simply being the sultan during a time of deterioration of the Ottoman Empire. There are many stories surrounding the circumstances of his attempted murder. A version by the 19th-century Ottoman historian Kevdet Pasha gives the following account: one of his slaves, a Georgian girl named Savri, gathered ashes when she heard the commotion in the palace surrounding the murder of Selim III. When the assassins approached the harem chambers where Mahmud was staying, she was able to keep them away for a while by throwing ashes into their faces, temporarily blinding them. This allowed Mahmud to escape through a window and climb onto the roof of the harem. He apparently ran to the roof of the third court where other pages saw him and helped him come down with pieces of clothes that were quickly tied together as a ladder. By this time one of the leaders of the rebellion, Alemdar Mustafa Pasha, arrived with his armed men and upon seeing the dead body of Selim III proclaimed Mahmud as Padishah. The slave girl Savri Kalfa was awarded for her bravery and loyalty and appointed Hatsi Darasta, the chief treasurer of the imperial harem, which was the second most important position in the hierarchy. A plain stone staircase at the altar ± Nile of the harem is called Staircase of Savri Kalfa, since the events apparently happened around there and are associated with her. Reign overview: the vizier took the initiative in resuming reforms that had been terminated by the conservative coup of 1807 that had brought Mustafa IV to power. However, he was killed during a rebellion in 1808 and Mahmud II temporarily abandoned the reforms. Mahmud II's later reformation efforts were more successful. War against the Saudi state. During the early years of Mahmud II's reign, his governor of Egypt Mehmet Ali Pasha successfully reconquered the holy cities of Medina and Mecca from the First Saudi State. Abdullah bin Saud and the First Saudi State had barred Muslims from the Ottoman Empire from entering the holy shrines of Mecca and Medina. His followers also desecrated the tombs of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hassan ibn Ali and Husayn ibn Ali. Abdullah bin Saud and his two followers were publicly beheaded for their crimes against holy cities and mosques. Greek War of Independence. His reign also marked the first breakaway from the Ottoman Empire, with Greece gaining its independence following a rebellion that started in 1821. During the Battle of Erzurum, part of the Ottoman-Persian War, Mahmud II's superior force got routed by Abbas Mta, resulting in a Qajar Persian victory which got confirmed in the treaties of Erzurum. Several years later, in 1827, the combined British, French and Russian navies defeated the Ottoman navy at the Battle of Nevrino. In the aftermath, the Ottoman Empire was forced to recognize Greece with the Treaty of Constantinople in July 1832. This event, together with the occupation of the Ottoman province of Algeria by France in 1830, marked the beginning of the gradual breakup of the Ottoman Empire. Non-Turkish ethnic groups living in the empire's territories, especially in Europe, started their own independence movements. The auspicious incident. Among Mahmud II's most notable acts during his reign was the abolition of the Janissary Corps in 1826, permitting the establishment of a European-style conscript army, recruited largely from Turkish speakers of Rumelia and Asia Minor. Mahmud was also responsible for the subjugation of the Iraqi Mamluks by Ali Rida Pasha in 1831. he ordered the execution of the renowned Ali Pasha of Teplina. He sent his Grand Vizier to execute the Bosniak hero Hussein Grada Infinite Evire and dissolute the Bosnia Eyalet. Tanzimat reforms equals. In 1839, he began preparations for the Tanzimat reform era, which included introducing a council of ministers or the Meclis Ovukla. The Tanzimat marked the beginning of modernization in Turkey, and had immediate effects on social and legal aspects of life in the empire, such as European-style clothing, architecture, legislation, institutional organization and land reform. He was concerned also for aspects of tradition. He made great efforts to revive the sport of archery. He ordered archery master Mustafa Kani to write a book about the history, construction, and use of Turkish bows, from which comes most of what is now known of Turkish boyaree. Mahmud II died of tuberculosis, some say he was murdered, at the Esma Sultana Palace, an Amna ±Car, in 1839. His funeral was attended by crowds of people who came to bid the Sultan farewell. His son Abdul Lmecid succeeded him. Reforms Legal reforms equals. Among his reforms are the edicts, by which he closed the court of confiscations, and took away much of the power of the pashas. Previous to the first of the firmans, the property of all persons banished or condemned to death was forfeited to the crown. And a sordid motive for acts of cruelty was thus kept in perpetual operation, besides the encouragement of a host of vile delators. The second firman removed the ancient rights of Turkish governors to doom men to instant death by their will. The powers, the hours, and other officers, were enjoined that they should not presume to inflict, themselves, the punishment of death on any man, whether Ray or Turk, unless authorized by a legal sentence pronounced by the Qadi, and regularly signed by the judge. Mahmud also created an appeal system by a criminal to one of the Khazaska of Asia or Europe, and finally to the Sultan himself, if the criminal chose to persist in his appeal. About the same time that Mahmud II ordained these changes, he personally set an example of reform by regularly attending the Divan, or State Council, instead of secluding himself from the labors of state. The practice of the Sultan avoiding the Divan had been introduced as long ago as the reign of Suleiman I, and was considered as one of the causes of the decline of the empire by a Turkish historian nearly 2 centuries before Mahmud II's time. Mahmud II also addressed some of the worst abuses connected with the Vakra ±FS, by placing their revenues under state administration. However, he did not venture to apply this vast mass of property to the general purposes of the government. His modernizations included the relaxation of much of the restrictions on alcoholic beverages in the empire, and the Sultan himself was known to drink socially with his ministers. By the end of his reign, his reforms had mostly normalized drinking among the upper classes and political figures in the empire. In his time, the financial situation of the empire was troubling, and certain social classes had long been under oppression under difficult taxes. In dealing with the complicated questions that therefore arose, Mahmud II is considered to have demonstrated the best spirit of the best of the Car paragraph pra 1/4 la 1/4 s. A firman of February 22, 1834 abolished the vexatious charges which public functionaries, when traversing the provinces, had long been accustomed to take from the inhabitants. By the same edict all collection of money, except for the 2 regular half-yearly periods, was denounced as abuses. "No one is ignorant," said Sultan Mahmud II in this document, "that I am bound to afford support to all my subjects against vexatious proceedings. To endeavor unceasingly to lighten, instead of increasing their burdens, and to ensure peace and tranquility. Therefore, those acts of oppression are at once contrary to the will of God, and to my imperial orders." The Harrow section, or capitation tax, though moderate and exempting those who paid it from military service, had long been made an engine of gross tyranny through the insolence and misconduct of the government collectors. The Firman of 1834 abolished the old mode of levying it, and ordained that it should be raised by a commission composed of the Qada ±, the Muslim governors, and the Ayans, or municipal chiefs of rayas in each district. Many other financial improvements were effected. By another important series of measures, the administrative government was simplified and strengthened, and a large number of sinecure offices were abolished. Sultan Mahmud II provided a valuable personal example of good sense and economy, organizing the imperial household, suppressing all titles without duties, and all salaried officials without functions. Military reforms. Mahmud II dealt effectively with the military fiefs, the tar plus or minus Mares and the Ziyamet. These had been instituted to furnish the old effective military force, but had long ceased to serve this purpose. By attaching them to the public domains, Mahmud II materially strengthened the resources of the state, and put an end to a host of corruptions. One of the most resolute acts of his ruling was the suppression of the derbez, the hereditary local chiefs, which, in one of the worst abuses of the Ottoman feudal system, had made themselves petty princes in almost every province of the empire. The reduction of these insubordinate feudatories was not effected at once, or without severe struggles and frequent insurrections. Mahmud II steadily persevered in this great measure, and ultimately the island of Cyprus became the only part of empire in which power not emanating from the Sultan was allowed to be retained by derbez. One of his most notable achievement was the abolition of the Janissary Corps, event known as the Auspicious Incident, in 1826, and the establishment of a modern Ottoman army, named the Askari-Manshuri-Mahmudi. Following the loss of Greece after the Battle of Navrino against the combined British-French-Russian flotilla in 1827, Mahmud II gave top priority to rebuilding a strong Ottoman naval force. The first steamships of the Ottoman Navy were acquired in 1828. In 1829, the world's largest warship for many years, the 201X-56 Kadam or 76.15 ma, 21.22 m ship of the line Mahmudi, which had 128 cannons on 3 decks and carried 1,280 sailors on board, was built for the Ottoman Navy at the Imperial Naval Arsenal on the Golden Horn in Constantinople. Marriages and issue. Wives. 1822, Bizmir Sentlem Valid Sultan, 1829, Pertiv Nile Valid Sultan, Fatma Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Alisnab Kada plus or minus Nefendi, 1808, Hasai Pertiv Piel Nevdan Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Mizlinab Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Kameri Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Abrarefta Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Zawanigar Kada plus or minus Nefendi, 1808, Aybakan Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Fuzlat Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Nurtlb Kada plus or minus Nefendi, 1811, Hasai Huya Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Pervisa Felik Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Peristov Kada plus or minus Nefendi, Ha1 Quarter Snaimlik Khana plus or minus Mefendi, Zina Felik Khana plus or minus Mefendi, Librisa Felik Khana plus or minus Mefendi, 1826, Tyril Hana plus or minus Mefendi, Gar1 Quarter Lcemal Hana plus or minus Mefendi. Sons. Sultan Abdul I Quarter Lmecidi, Sultan Abdul I Quarter Lazis I, Angstram Sad Abdul I Quarter Hamid, Angstram Sad Murad, Angstram Sad Bayazid, Angstram Sad Abdul I Quarter Hamid, Angstram Sad Osman, Angstram Sad Ahmed, Angstram Sad Mehmed, Angstram Sad Mehmed, Angstram Sad Sulaiman, Angstram Sad Ahmed, Angstram Sad Ahmed, Angstram Sad Abdullah, Angstram Sad Mahmud, Angstram Sad Mehmed, Angstram Sad Ahmed, Angstram Sad Ahmed. Angstram Sad Abdul I Quarter Hamid, Angstram Sad Nizamuddin, Angstram Sad Hafiz, Angstram Sad Kamala I Quarter Ddin. Daughters. Fatma Sultan, Esh Sultan, Fatma Sultana, Salih Sultan, Angstrama Sultana. Marima Sultan, Imin Sultan, Imin Sultan, Angstrama Sultan. Imin Sultan, Zeynep Sultan, Hamid Sultan, Semal Sultan, Hamid Sultan, Atai Sultan, Munira Sultan, Hadis Sultan, Adal Sultan, Haria Sultan, Rifia Sultan. In fiction, the 2006 historical detective novel The Janissary Tree, by Jason Goodwin, is set in 1836 Constantinople, with Mahmud II's modernizing reforms forming the background of the plot. The Sultan himself and his mother appear in several scenes. The 1989 film Intimate Power, also known as The Favorite, is adapted from an historical fiction novel by Prince Michael of Greece. It portrays a legend about Oima copyright Edu Bugdariva copyright Hawaii as a young captured French girl who, after spending years in an Ottoman harem, outlives two sultans and protects Mahmud as his surrogate mother. Mahmud is a minor role in the film but is portrayed as both an adult and a child. The film concludes with a variation of his dramatic succession. See also, Intersection Ali plus or minus Kel Mahmudif, Sendai Degree Ttifak, Ali Pasha. References. Incorporates text from Edward Shepard Creasy, History of the Ottoman Turks. From the beginning of their empire to the present time. Further reading, Levy, Ovid. The Officer Corps and Sultan Mahmud II's New Ottoman Army, 1826-39. International Journal of Middle East Studies 2 No. 1 pp. 21-39 online, Levy, Ovid. The Ottoman Ulema and the Military Reforms of Sultan Mahmud II. Asian and African Studies 7, 13-39. Levy, Ovid. The Ottoman Corps and Sultan Mahmud II New Ottoman Army. International Journal of Middle East Studies 1, pages 39+, Palmer, Alon. The Decline and Fall of the Ottoman Empire ch. 6. External links, media related to Mahmud II at Wikimedia Commons.